In 1857, Antonin Petrof traveled to Vienna to study piano building. When he returned, he transformed his father's joinery workshop into a piano shop, and in 1864 he founded the Petrof Piano Company. Petrof is one of the leading piano makers in Europe, but are somewhat of a lesser-known brand here in the States. When you work on one, you can clearly see the Viennese tradition of building, with some similarities to Busendorfer. While the Petrof build and sound are solidly European in style, they've actually been marketed more to jazz and pop players here in the States.
Today I'm at a Petrof Model 5. Really just called in to do a good tuning, but I noticed the action has kind of a sluggish feel to it. And I think the issue is the springs. See how slow? Super slow. But it may not be the spring, it may be friction in the hammer shank bushing. So I'm going to inspect that. Let's open her up. There's a hidden screw for the key slip that you have to remove. Don't forget about that. Well, the hammers fall really well. Very little spring action there. And I can't do it one-handed, but when I tested this without the spring on it, it was pretty loose. Not flopping around, but loose like it needs to be. So now I think it really is just the springs. They just need a bit more juice. Let me be literal, they need a bit more tension. I was being figurative there. If you look here, you can see this little pin. There's one on this side as well. That is evidence that there used to be a damp chaser rod in here, a dehumidifier. That is a big no-no. Don't put dehumidifier rods inside the action cavity. These little parts, they're tiny. So heating them up like that, it just makes them unstable and probably crack and dry out faster. So don't do that. So for anybody who thinks that setting these repetition springs looser so that you have less spring tension would make the action lighter, you're misunderstanding what these are for. Not only, of course, are they for resetting the action so you can have faster repetition, but this creates a bit of a synchronicity between the hammer movement and the key movement. The weaker the spring is, the more delay there is for the hammer rise once you start pushing on the key. And springs are logarithmic rather than being linear, right? The more compression, right? So at the very top end of the spring compression, it's less. So it doesn't give you an easier keystroke. It just gives you a mushy feeling and less connection between the key and the hammer. So make them pop like this. Here's the neighbor I haven't done. Nothing. Pop. Yeah. One other thing. The spring tension can affect not just the repetition here, it can affect, let's put that in there so you can see it. Oh, this is difficult. It can affect the jack height in the window. It can affect the hammer line height. So you got to get this right.
Here I just want to get the action stack out of the way. I'm just sliding it back into the action cavity, but be careful if you do this. You can break a hammer off.
Okay, there are the key pins. So, yeah, they feel a little sticky. If they were corroded and stuff, you'd have to clean them with alcohol, but these are nice and clean, so we'll just go ahead and start painting. Got a nice fat brush here, so it holds a lot of the lube. Get it wet, shake off the excess, and paint it on. I always do 2 cuts.
This lubricant I'm using is from McLube. It's called Sail Coat. It's actually for boat sails, the canvas. I find it to be super slippery, and it's available at almost any boat supply store, at least here in South Florida.
Something unusual going on here with that. See, that's the typical shape, and then suddenly is going on with that? I have no idea. There they are. You can see they're kind of hazy looking. That's the film. So we also paint the top of the capstans. This is useful anywhere that metal touches felt. Also preserves the life of the felt. As I tune through the bass here, you can hear the unisons here are really hard to kind of get clean. That one's really bad. Petrofs and some other European style pianos have this issue. It's you do your best you can to tune through it, hoping that the harmony, that in the pieces will cover it up.